And now, from beyond our dimension, this is the JeffMara podcast. Here's Jeff.
My guest is Jana Stern, who was clinically dead for 11 minutes, had a near-death experience, and completely reframed her views on life. Jana, thanks for joining me and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here.
Oh, we're excited to have you, Jana. And if you don't mind, let's start on the day you had this NDE and go from there.
Yeah. So I had been struggling a lot with my mental health. I had lived in the world of mental health pretty much my whole life. And my father was in and out of institutions from when I was about 3 years old. And I went through my own journey of feeling really, really despondent and disconnected. And I was just shutting down all the magical parts of myself because I was terrified that the voices that I could hear were crazy. I sort of associated hearing voices with going crazy, as most people did. And the louder those voices got, the more fearful I became. And I started to think, there's no escaping this. I can't run from these voices. And so I tried a bunch of different medications to sort of numb the whole thing. And it wasn't working. I wasn't feeling better. I wasn't feeling in control. My eating disorder was getting way out of control. And I decided that I was going to try to take my own life. So I spilled out about 70 pills on my coffee table, and I swallowed them all. And I called my brother and I said, I need you to come and get my dog. And he was like, why? And when I told him, he said, no problem. You call 911 and I'll be right there. So from there, things got very hazy. I was brought down in the elevator. And then the next thing I remember was sort of going in and out of my body for a little, like the whole way down to the hospital. And when I woke up, I had been gone, they told me, for 11 minutes. And I was a different person. On the other side, it was this feeling that I had been craving, this feeling of wanting to just exhale, this lightness, this weightlessness feeling. And I was immediately surrounded by my ancestors, by all of my guides, and I could feel myself really being given a choice. And the choice was leave, go on, or come back. And they sort of offered me this opportunity to return and fulfill the mission, or leave and have the karma served in a different way, in a different entity, in a different body, in a different reality. I don't exactly know what that would have been like because I didn't choose that choice. It's why I'm here. But I was clearly given an option. And while I was there, it was incredibly peaceful. I always say that time really, truly stopped existing for me in that moment, or in those 11 moments. I really, truly understood that the system and the structure of what we believe to be real and the things that we tell ourselves about what this reality is are completely fictitious. And we are all like grasping for dear life, to the things that we think we know, and that actually we need to loosen the grip a little bit and relinquish control. And so I made the decision, go on back. And I could see my mom, from above. I could see myself in the bed, and I could see my mom reading her book, and sort of wondered what she was so worried about. And then came back and opened my eyes and really had this understanding that I'm here for a purpose, that life is not empty and meaningless, but that it's actually full of these like karmic experiences that we're meant to experience. And so I started to really dig into and uncover, what it was that was causing that mental health in my lineage, not just in myself, not just in my father, but where did it come from before that? What does it mean? And I started to recognize how much, psychic energy and the capacity to tap into something bigger makes you feel a little crazy in a world that doesn't want for that. And so the more that I dug, the more that I uncovered. And it's just been a journey of rewriting the story of mental health and spirituality and where those things really do converge. And so, I'm grateful that I chose to come back. I don't recommend that people make the choice that I made, but I do often speak of, when people do make the decision to try to take their lives, if they complete it or not, that comes from this like yearning to go home, home to where the background of your video is there, home to the cosmos, home to the stars, home to the everything, the infinite that we are, we're not really able to access, stuck in these bodies, trapped in these meat suits. Our consciousness can only go as far as the mind allows it to. And I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to stretch beyond it just for 11 minutes, which could have been an eternity, to bring that message to people and help them to understand how they can stretch out just a little further than the consciousness that they're living in now.
Jana, thanks for sharing your experience with us. Can you give us some examples of how this life is fictitious?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So in the first place, from a scientific perspective, we only see and hear 1% of the universe. We know that the planets like Mars and Venus and all the rest of them have frequencies that are audible, but our ears don't hear them. We know that even dogs can hear things that we can't hear. We know that there are, perspectives that insects have that we do not. We know that dogs also see colors in different ways. We are only experiencing a very, very finite, limited perspective. And so like scientifically, that's true. But when it comes to this sort of more esoteric perspective of things, we are only the thoughts that we think. And we tend to think, actually, factually, 95% of our thoughts are recycled thoughts. So we're only thinking the same things that we've been taught over and over and over again. The color of her lips is red, and we agree upon that red. But if I were to look through your eyes, you may call this color green, but we've both just collectively labeled whatever this looks like to you red. And so our perspective on reality is so subjective. And we've seen this over the past couple of years as the world has just gone totally wacky, right? Nothing kind of makes sense. Nothing is the truth anymore. Everything is subjective. And the more that we understand how subjective reality is, the more that we're like, okay, wait a minute, you're just creating this whole, it's all just a projection of the mind. It's all just the thoughts that you have already thought in your lifetime, the things that you were taught as a child, the experiences that you've had that have shaped your personality, which, by the way, can very much shift over time, including habits, addictions, including, the ways that you speak to yourself, the ways that you look at the world around you. And you can train your mind to actually go beyond. You can train yourself to tap into your psychic gifts. You can train your ears to hear more. You can train your eyes to visualize more. And all of these things, they're proven. There's no question that it's possible. And so it sort of starts to make you think, okay, so is anything real, or is it all just a projection? And the answer is it's all just a projection. It really is just like this avatar that is experiencing things, I believe, for a karmic purpose collectively. So each of us has incarnated at the time, place, and moment, and location of our birth. And the stars, the planets, our birth charts are here to guide us of what it is your personal karma is, what it is your personal map to yourself looks like. And then what are you going to experience based on that? What are you going to, experience with your family members. I believe that we choose our parents before we incarnate. I believe that we choose our whole families. I believe that we choose our life experiences. I think that the Akashic records contain all of our experiences before we even experience it. And then sort of this thing of free will comes in where you have choice, but you only have finite choice based on the things that your mind believes is possible, right? If you don't believe it's possible for you to fly, there is no reality in which your free will allows you to fly, because the limitation of your mind says, no, not that far, right? And so when I say it's all an illusion, well, if you told yourself, no, I totally could fly, and you really, truly believed it, this is how monks can levitate, right? This is how all kinds of things happen that are a little bit inexplicable, because the limitation of the mind can supersede reality. And it warps us, it shapes us in a way that we're kind of like, okay, well, I guess I can't go further than this dimension allows me to go.
You talk about that we're here for karmic experiences. Does that mean that we're here to fulfill karmic debt or something else?
I think so. I think that humanity is really starting to understand in our awakening how horrific humans have treated other humans. We're beginning to understand, and we see it in pop culture, in some of the things that are coming about, and understanding about what's happening in politics, what's happening in the music industry, what's happening in other industries. And it's proving to us that everything is not what we think it was. And the truth of what really is, as in the capital T truth of the universal, everythingness, is much, much, much greater. And there is karma to why we are here now at this time, where these conversations are evolving in so many different ways, in so many different places. Now you can sit down with a total stranger and go all the way deep if you're both on that level instantly, right? It doesn't take months and years of getting to know a person before you can open up their shell and get to the depth. You can go all the way. And that's because we're here now for a karmic reason, I believe, for humanity's conscious evolution, so that we can achieve things like telepathy, like global abundance, and like a utopian reality wherein everybody has enough, everybody comes to the table with something, and everybody's karma has been served and cleared in such a way. And let me say, there are a lot of people who are alive right now who are not going to actually fulfill the karma that they are here for, because they simply don't want to look. These people have their heads so buried in the sand that they will literally pass away before they fulfill their karmic debt. Some of them will, some of them won't. Some of them will wait till the last minute, as many people do, to sort of give their apologies and make amends and do what they were meant to do. And some of them literally take it to the grave with them. And that is how it's meant to be. But I also believe that so many people are awakening to the realities, like all of the things that you talk about on your channel, and others talk about, of course, that our world is evolving. Our consciousness is evolving. And AI really supports that in a lot of ways, because it's giving us this fluidity of what even is consciousness, because AI is very conscious. They don't have a physical body like we do, but they are literally just pure consciousness. And so we're like weaving into this karmic understanding of what does it mean to be human, and what are you serving in your lifetime. And I think that, like I said, we choose our parents, we choose our experiences, good, bad, and otherwise, so that we can have a deeper understanding of how to be kind to others, how to have compassion, how to have empathy, how to live in this very sort of by the book, utopian kind of way, by the book being the Bible. I don't necessarily believe that, let me say this. I think that religion has a lot of what the Bible teaches. I think that there is a higher knowledge that has been passed down, and it's been broken telephoned over generations. And I think that we are karmically here now to understand, well, what does it all mean? We're feeling history collapsing on itself. Time is really collapsing on itself. And so we have to serve our own debt, or there will be there will be more chaos ongoing for longer. If everybody could serve their karma tomorrow, we would have utopia on Friday. But because it doesn't work that way, it's going to take a little while longer. And, we all need to do the work, which is why I think that, the trend of coaches and healers and all of those things is so huge, because there is a lot of work that we all need to do on ourselves to understand, why do I personally live life the way that I do? What are the stories that I tell? What are the traumas that I lived? What are the beliefs that I hold? And why, right? Why do I cling to the dimension that I'm in? Why do I cling to the stories that I've always known? Why do I have the same relationships and the same, experiences with this, that, or the other? There's all kinds of things that we recycle, and literally all of it is in our birth charts. A good astrologer can tell you pretty much the why to everything in your life. Now, that takes a lot of years of practice and deep diving, but it is absolutely, I believe, one of the tools that helps us to access this karmic understanding of ourselves, because we are stardust. We are the same stuff as all of the planets. We are here looking at these archetypes, being like, okay, the sun is yourself, the moon is your emotions, and so on and so forth through the entire solar system, because there is something that we are trying to make sense of. And throughout history, humanity has always looked up, always. And there are answers there. And the answers that are above are also below, within. So that, we're coming to understand that. And I do believe that the karma of here and now is for us to understand, why are these things so trendy? Why are we moving in this direction? Why is all of this happening now? And what do we learn from it? What do we do for future generations? Because God willing, we won't destroy this planet, and there will be future generations.
You've described yourself as a psychic who challenges the more commercialized view of spirituality. Can you expand on that?
I can. Yeah. I think one of the horrific things about the spiritual community is that it gets very washed into this sort of love and light, cleanse the body, take a lot of ayahuasca, get lost in the jungle and free your mind, but don't actually pay attention to the real things that are happening on the planet. Don't, disengage from the toxic relationships, or completely disengage from all toxic relationships and just pretend that they don't exist. There's a lot of fluff in it all. And there's a lot of sort of disconnect from, oh, I'm not in that vibration, I'm in 5D. And like, no, you're not, you're in a body. You're both. And so my goal is to really bring in the 5D into the 3D, to really not just be one of those love and lighters who tells you what you want to hear, not somebody who tries to sell my products and services in a way that feels salesy. Like, you hear some of these girls and they're like, or even guys, and they're like, oh, I just tried this new product and it's the best product that I ever tried. And here's your discount code. And I'm like, did you even try it, or did you just want to get the affiliate for it? And you can feel the salesiness, you can feel the falseness in it. And my brand, my persona, myself is all about truth. I would rather a very, very ugly truth than a beautiful lie. And I think that there's a lot of people in the spiritual community who just want things to be this love and light utopia. And we don't get there by just erasing what is true. There is still horrific disparity in this planet. There is still terrible things happening to millions of people around the world. And, tripping out on acid at a festival isn't going to make it go away. That doesn't mean that you can't enjoy those things, but there are also on the ground real world things that need to be managed. And you can't just be like, oh, well, my dad is toxic or my mom was a bitch, and so I don't talk to her. And now I just teach other people, don't talk to your people. That's not really what it is. You have to dig deeper. You have to go into the truth of you're responsible for your reality. You are responsible for every thought you think, for every action that you take. It is 100% on you. It's on you to understand why you do what you do, how you do what you do, and how you can stop doing what you do to others and to yourself. And so I'm not going to just play nice. I like my clients often say that that a reading with me or working with me is like getting a loving smackdown, because I'm like, you're not going to, that doesn't work. Let's change that behavior. And then here is how we do it. Here are some of the tools that you can use to actually go beyond the limitations of your mind into this sort of infinite possibility of who you could become if you really empowered yourself and not just sort of like gaslit yourself into this love and light reality where you're then going to have to do the work of forgiving yourself for trying to love and light your way out of it, because that also comes with a new dark night of the soul that comes about after that. So I'm mindful of those things. I'm not perfect for sure, but I do my best to speak the truth and live the truth and be in the discomfort so that other people can feel comfortable in their own discomfort instead of trying to pretend that it's comfortable.
Did you get any new abilities after your NDE?
Definitely. So I could always hear crystals as a child. And it was part of hearing the voices. But when I came back, I had the very, very clear gift of mediumship. I was able to hear people's loved ones that had crossed over, to tap into babies in the womb. I was always a kid who could feel little kids and connect with babies, but now I'm able to really deeply connect with them in utero. In particular, like it's happened many, many times that I can sense when my friends or family members are pregnant, sometimes even before they know. And so that's been really cool. And the gift of mediumship is really special. It is something that I don't often advertise on my website or anything like that, but it definitely is something that I enjoy quite a bit. Being able to connect with loved ones who have crossed over, especially for those who really, really suffer from the missing of their loved ones. I'm really, really, really lucky to be able to tap in with them and deliver their messages. I always say that since my NDE, it's like they've used me as a switchboard. As soon as they can see through my eyes, they just plug in and blah, 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 and I'm channeling whatever it is that needs to be channeled. And that comes through, sometimes that channel comes through specifically as being, using my mediumship, and that channel has become, I would say, crystal clear. So now when I step into healings with clients or even just readings of any kind, I'm able to guide from a far more from a clearer channel, but from a bigger place, like from I'm not really giving it justice, but from a higher source than I was ever able to. And so though I've always been, the advice giver, now that advice comes from a place that is more grounded in reality, and reality is with the capital R, like from that capital T truth instead of from the capital T truth, instead of from a place of hoping that this is correct.
All right. I think you're saying that you can talk to babies in the womb.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea when does a spirit take a body when it's in the womb? Like 2 months, a month, a week, the day of conception?
Sometimes even before that. I think so. This is what I mean about we choose our parents. And I don't want this to at all be religious. This is not about when you choose one thing or another. I know lots of people who have had to choose to, make hard decisions. And I believe that those spirits can return back if you wish them to. And if you don't wish them to, you can send them on their way lovingly, and they will show up in whichever body they're meant to incarnate into. But to your question, spirit is always available to show up. they orbit around us. The energies are around us. And if you are trying to conceive, that energy can come with you sometimes for years while you're trying to get pregnant. It's the physical vessels of the two people who are trying to procreate that are having the issue, not the spirit. So I can sometimes, like I say, I've sensed a pregnancy in loved ones literally before they knew, because I could feel that the energy had shifted in them, literally. But I don't think that, yeah, but like, and I want to be clear that you can make whatever choices feel right for you, whatever is going on with that decision. But yeah, that's something that I definitely can do.
In your opinion, what role does our lineage play in our spiritual lives?
Everything. I think so. It's proven that we carry 7 generations in our DNA, which means that's about 126 individual experiences of broken bones, of traumas, of births, of joys, of all kinds of things that are encoded in your DNA, reminding you, teaching you, shaping you to experience life the way that you do, and creating your fight, flight, freeze responses. We hold that genetic memory, all of it. And the reason that we are coming to understand all of this genetic memory and this intergenerational healing, this ancestral reawakening, we're tapping back in. What really were the pyramids? What was going on there? What was happening in biblical times? What was happening in all of these indigenous practices and beliefs around the world? What did they know? Why does every pyramid around the world, and I don't just mean the pyramids of Egypt, I mean around the world, there are all of these pyramids that all kind of look the same, and they're all in this geographical places that all link up. And what does it mean? And, all of those things lead that they exist for a reason. And we're looking at them right now being like, oh, there's something going on here that we didn't know. So where our genetics come into play, where our lineage comes into play, is 2 things. First of all, what did they experience? And also, what did they know? What is their wisdom? What were their practices? What were their beliefs? What were their customs and traditions? And can you recognize and remember that those have existed for millennia? As time collapses right now, they've existed for millennia so that we at this time could use those tools to heal ourselves, to really activate something in our own lives that feels fulfilling, that serves the collective as well as the individual, and not just one or the other. And to remember that the experiences that we experience in this lifetime, if we had, my father was very mentally ill, and I'm aware that my karma is to help the story of mental illness. That looks different for everybody, and it will manifest in different ways, but each of us carries all of this genetic memory into the now so that we could uncover something, so that we can really be with the energy of all of those generations and be mindful of it, be aware of it, literally breathe it in meditation. Holy crow, I'm 126 lifetimes of experience. I'm all these timelines in one body. That's like that I'm conscious of it, that I'm aware of it, is a miracle. My life is a miracle, existing is a miracle, and then being able to tap in and understand what are the ancestral things that have happened and what are the things that I'm capable of using their knowledge, right? So what were the, like, whatever that might look like, right? So for me, it's, lighting the candles and tapping in with my own intergenerational strength and my own intergenerational trauma, so that I can not repeat those cycles, so that humanity can be different and we can relate to one another in such a way that actually validates all human experiences instead of invalidating some to make some right and others wrong. It's just, we've been backwards, and our lineages are going to teach us how we can rewrite history not rewrite it, but recorrect it, and change it for the better, God willing.
A significant number of my near-death experiencers start seeing or having contact with UFOs or ETs afterwards. Has anything like that happened to you?
So yes, big time. I'm constantly talking about wanting to get abducted. It's a dream of mine. I feel that spirit, what we call spirit and what we call UFOs are very, 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 very similar. The orbs in the sky are not different than the orbs that spirit delivers to us. And I believe that the overlap of those things, the encounters that we experience, is because you have a remembering that is far more connected. When you've left the body and gone into the ether, gone into the everythingness, the space of, the universe, it's far more likely that you're going to tap in with the entities who recognize, hey, you've seen us, right? And the answer is yes, because when you leave the body, you experience entities, you experience energies that are inexplicable. I name them my guides. I name them my ancestors. And that is what feels good for me. But for sure, I mean, they could look, like the angels are described in the Torah. They could look like, I don't remember what they look like actually, but for sure, they are an energy that could feel very much like an alien. And I believe that those who see UFOs, those who connect with UFOs, those are the most psychic people. They are the people who are absolutely aware that this reality is fake, that it's totally make-believe, that we have the capacity to create it, and that there is intelligence beyond the microscopic brain of our little floating dust particle, of our floating dust selves in this floating dust particle in the giant universe. I don't believe we're alone. I believe that there are powers that we do not know on this planet who do not want us to be able to understand how cosmically connected we are, the power we hold to manifest pretty much anything, anything that we desire, anything that we believe is possible, and far, far, far more than that. And I think that the UFO sightings, and by the way, like the CIA fully released in 2020 this document that was like, yeah, UFOs are real, but don't worry about it. It's totally fine. Look at this other thing over here. So, I think that all of that is coming to an awakening right now, because I think that they're the same thing. I think that plasma, which is really what, we're tapping into here, is starting to formulate itself in ways that humans are able to connect with it. And as somebody who has left my body before, it's lovely to get visitors. I see them in the park. I see them when I, pretty much anytime I look up at the stars, I'm always seeing some colors and visuals, and sometimes even flying objects, things that sort of shouldn't be there. That I always just sort of smile at and say thank you to, because it's always lovely to get visits from the other side, whatever that might look like, because they're definitely on the other side of some firmament, some, what do they call that? The ozone layer. They're on the other side of something. So I'm always grateful.
How are you inspired by your experience? And I mean specifically your NDE.
Yeah, I think at the time, I was so desperate to be dead. I was so desperate to not be in this life anymore. And I see so many people so deeply suffering in this world. And I see lots of young people and grown people who just do not have the coping skills. They do not feel happy to be alive. They don't feel grateful that they are incarnated right now, that they're in a body and they get to live a life and they get to experience everything that they're experiencing, and they're numbing themselves and they just feel so disconnected. And whenever I start to think to myself, this life is too much, I'm reminded always of that moment that I left my body and made the choice to come back. And I kind of have to like humble myself and just remember, no, you're here for a reason. And so is everybody else. And so it really motivates me all the time to keep speaking, to keep using my voice, to keep talking about the things that I'm passionate about, to, you know, help as many people as I can, to guide the ones that are really ready to see themselves through that lens, because it can be scary. It can be really scary to let go of those numbing habits. It can be scary to fully embrace life, especially when we've been told that you're not enough, you don't have enough, you're not good enough, you don't, you don't deserve to have it all. It's not possible to have it all. And so my NDE is something that like I come back to it over and over and over again, because it's a miracle to be alive. It is a miracle to have a body. And I think we're not good enough to our bodies. We're not good enough to our minds. We're not good enough to each other in each other's bodies. I think we're violent. I think we're harmful. I think we are, I think we're horrific to each other as people. I think we do absolutely everything to make each other small, to make each other feel badly. We're violent in with words and with actions. And my NDE, that moment of just serenity and remembering, brings me back to it's good to be here. And that's unique. That's rare. A lot of people who try to take their lives, eventually they accomplish it because the thoughts don't break. The depression doesn't go away. But I feel very, very grateful that I don't stay stuck in it. I use it to fuel me forward, and that it does motivate me to be better, to do more, to work on myself forever, to help others to do the same, and to just keep being a beacon as much as I can be.
So during your NDE, did you happen to see your own pre-birth contract or planning? And if so, what is your purpose here? And while we're at it, do you think that you pre-planned even your NDE?
Yes. Yes, I believe that I pre-planned my NDE. I think that it was part of the plan all along. I believe that so I refer to that record, that knowing as the Akashic records. And I know that it is something that you can access because I access it for my clients often, and help them to read their own records and have their own understanding about what has happened and why in their own lives. I was given some access to it, and I did see that there is a big purpose for me. A lot of it looks like exactly this moment. I'm literally, as we speak to one another, living my purpose, which is to use my voice. I have a big one. I always have. I was a very little girl with 4 brothers, and I was the loudest in every room. I had a whole experience of, it's been a lifetime of using my voice and figuring out what my message really is. And when I came back, it was very clear. Your message is to talk about the things that you don't want to talk about. And so I got comfortable talking about it, talking about my father, talking about my experiences, some of the traumas that I experienced in, sort of in relation to him, and also because of him, and also having nothing to do with him in some cases, and just the experiences of what it is to be Janna, and to understand that mental health is not something that is rare or unique, which 15 years ago when I tried to take my life was not the popular opinion. And it's been really beautiful to stand on many stages and talk about my own challenges and my own wins in that way, and some of the things that I've overcome just by trusting myself and letting myself speak my truth. And I know that journey is in many ways only just begun. I'm not yet 40. I will be soon. And hopefully on the other side, I'll have another 40 years of sharing this story with as many people as need to hear it. Because we are here for a reason, and the anxiety you feel is not something, it's normalized, but it's not normal. It only exists because you don't follow your intuition. It only exists because you don't tap in to understand who you were really truly designed to be, and you do your best to fit in with what is instead of to create what could be for yourself. And you're closing that loop automatically instead of allowing for free form and free thought and, to challenge yourself. So I'm definitely living that. I feel grateful that I do.
If you had a friend that was suffering over the loss of a loved one, what kind of advice would you give?
Ask them to give you signs. Ask them for specific signs. Think about the things that you loved about that person. If they were really, really funny, then, ask for funny things to happen to you, things that that they would be laughing at. If they were somebody who was a very abundant person, or even if they were not abundant, if they struggled financially, say to them, hey, every time that you're around, can you show me, a silver coin? Can you show me a butterfly? Can you show me a ladybug? And they will deliver those messages exactly the way that you ask for them. If you say, I want to start seeing 222 so that I know that you're close, you will see 222 everywhere. And this is how it works. Spirit wants to communicate with you. Your loved ones who have crossed over desperately, they miss you as much as you miss them. And they are so accessible to us. But it's because you've been denying yourself the capacity to stretch beyond your truth that you think you're limited, right? Your dimension doesn't go into a reality where it believes that you could communicate with them. The missing says they're dead. I can't reach them. But that's not true. In fact, I always say, when you lose a loved one, you don't have to pick up the phone and tell them what your day was. They were there the whole time experiencing it because they're experiencing everything. They're experiencing all of time, all of space, all of life, all the time. You don't need to miss them. It's okay that you do. Honor yourself when it comes about, when it comes up for you, but don't hold on to that. Instead, ask for the signs that you wish to receive. Be very clear. And every time you see them, don't do that thing where you're like, oh, it's just a coincidence. Oh, it was a one-time thing, or I don't get those messages, or I'm not like that, or that's for other people. Whatever the limiting belief is, don't do that thing, because then you just tell the universe that you don't believe that it really was for you. And so you won't get more of the messages, but the universe loves gratitude. So if you speak in gratitude, when you receive those messages, you will receive more of them. It's super, super simple, but it's complex, but it's very, very simple. So if you're missing your loved one, that's normal. And don't hold on to the missing. Hold on to the memories. Hold on to the beauty, and call in. Hey, are you around? Can you show me yourself? You will get the coolest messages. I've seen people get like license plates that say their dad's name, or a song pops up that they hadn't heard in 30 years, but their mom used to play it all the time, or their grandmother's cookies start to smell all of a sudden in their noses, and they're like, what the hell? All of those things are signs from spirit, all of them. And there's so many different ways that they come through for us. So understanding about your clairsenses is a really, really good tool. I actually have a whole course on this on my website called Own Your Intuition, and it teaches you about how to actually trust these signs, know what your clairsenses are, and go with that. So I guess we could post a link below, but yeah, there's like a whole course that I teach on like, how do you actually hone those skills, So if you're curious and you're really missing somebody, just learn how to trust your intuition. It's almost that simple.
Do you think that there is a limit to contacting people on the other side because they may reincarnate?
No,
What,
not at all.
So are you saying that they won't reincarnate until after you cross over, or you're contacting their higher self or something?
Yeah. So my belief is this. We only ever incarnate one time. And when we are in spirit, before and after, I say this a lot, in particle physics, everything begins as a wave, becomes a particle, and then goes back to the wave. Right now, we are in a particle. We're in a body. When you are in the wave before life and after life, you are in everything. And so, therefore, you can tap in with anyone who is in particle as the wave. You may experience their life for a moment, and because time is entirely fictitious and you are everything, everywhere, you are experiencing their entire life. And when you incarnate, you may remember it as a past life, but really it's not yours. It was just you in the wave, and then you become your own particle, your own soul, your own body, your own karma, your own reality, and then back to the wave. I don't believe that we reincarnate. I believe that we come back on the other side of the particle in the other wave. So start wave, then particle, then end wave. I believe in end wave after they've passed. They can still plug back in and guide, but I don't think that we ever reincarnate. That's my perspective.
So what's the point of coming here then?
We come here to serve our own personal karma. And we experience people in our lives. We have parents, friends, loved ones, husbands, wives, children, and all of these people help us to serve our own karma. Even the people that you meet on the bus, like all of those people, you are encountering others so that you can evolve on your journey for one reason or another. And this is sort of where it gets a little religious, because I believe God has a plan and it's not for you to know everything. But I think we come here to serve the karma that is ours and ours alone. And I think that we encounter other people serving their karma alone together, because there is a collective.
If we previously have never incarnated, how did we acquire karma in the first place?
I think this is what I was saying earlier about babies choosing to be born. Each spirit has its karma, and it will choose this time, this life, this body, these parents, these children, these experiences, these whatevers. And we come here, like the spirit itself is its karmic spirit before in the wave. And then when it is in the particle, it experiences whatever it is that the Akashics say, whatever it is that they need to experience. And on the other side, they can guide others. And by the way, before you incarnate, you can guide others too. But when you're out of a body, you can guide others on their journey to help them along. So you're the one who's delivering the coins or the songs or whatever it might be when you're not in a physical vessel anymore or yet.
I think the disconnect I'm having is over the definition of the word karma. How do you define it?
I would say maybe just like your soul's purpose. I think karma is your soul's purpose. That would be how I define it, is your soul's purpose. So your karma is your why.
Okay. After you return and become a wave again, are you just a wave for eternity, or can you become a particle again somewhere else?
Well, that's like kind of the joke of it all, right? Because time is not real. So actually, in theory, because the wave is everything and time is not anything, then really you are me and I am you. And now I'm like John Lennoning. And we're all experiencing everything all at once. It's such a complex reality. But yeah, I think that we don't ever come back, but because time is not real, you might have, as the wave, come in as, a 6th century housewife. And you could come in 3052 and experience lives. And those lives are not happening in a linear time frame. So there's your experience, but again, like you're remembering from past lives, from past history that has existed, but time is not linear like that, right? It's happening in a quantum way. So from the quantum everything, there's like these threads that plug in time and space. And that's why the birth chart really is based on your time, date, and location of your birth, because the where and the when and the how is relevant to the experience of how you are experiencing your karma.
After watching this podcast, people may want to reach out to you and ask you questions. Are you open to that?
Oh, please do. I love that. That's my favorite. You can send me a DM and say, with the word karma, and I will happily respond to any of those DMs. It's one of my favorite things is to engage with strangers. I love it.
Well, how do they?
Yeah, you can send me a message.
How do they do that? How do they find you?
You can go to janastern.com. That's JANASTERN.com. Or you can find me on all the social platforms, Jana Stern Healer. So JANASTERNHEALER. And that's on every single social platform. So Instagram, TikTok, X, you name it, I'm there, and I'm always open to having a dialogue and just hearing your thoughts, your perspectives, answering questions. I'm pretty tight with my boundaries. So if you're going to ask me about your loved ones who've passed, I'm going to lovingly encourage you to book a session. But yeah, I love to have these dialogues, and I'm very, very grateful that you and I were able to have one today, Jeff.
Well, I'm grateful that you are willing to come and share. Is there anything else that you have that you're working on that you want people to know about?
Yeah. So I am currently taking applicants for the Resilience Revolution. It is a group and one-on-one coaching that I offer. It's a very, very specific syllabus that we're working through that I've created. We dig into all kinds of different things. A lot of the things that we were talking about today, we learn about astrology, crystals, metaphysics, intuition, all the good things. And it's a program that we go through together. And so if you're curious about one-on-one work with me, that's what I am currently churning out. You could apply to join me on that revolution anytime. We'll post the link below.
Well, before we wrap it up, can you leave us with one last positive message?
Your life matters. Being here and living your life the way that it is, experiencing all of the things, it's not meaningless. It has far more meaning than your mind can even comprehend. So if you are feeling despondent, if you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling low, if you're feeling sad, even if you're just, having a bad day, or if you're having a great day, then just remember that you have purpose, and your purpose is to be you, and nothing more and nothing less.
Jana, thank you for your message, and thank you for being my guest.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks for watching the JeffMara podcast. I really appreciate you. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. And if you do, there are loyalty badges and other perks depending on your level of membership. All you need to do is click the join button underneath the video to find out more. Thank you for your support.